The knife touched Ismail's throat and stopped. Not because Ibrahim hesitated, not because an angel intervened at the last second with a ram. The knife stopped because in that exact moment, Ibrahim understood what he was actually being asked to sacrifice. And it wasn't his son. Every year during Eid al-Adha, millions of Muslims slaughter animals and retell the story of Ibrahim and Ismail. They focus on the obedience, the submission, the willingness to sacrifice what you love most for Allah. And they completely miss what actually happened on that mountain. Rumi saw it. In the Mathnawi, in his discourses, in the oral teachings preserved by his students, he unpacked this story with such precision that once you see what he saw, you can never read it the same way again. What was actually sacrificed? Here's what Rumi saw that changes everything. Ibrahim wasn't being tested on whether he'd kill his son. He was being tested on whether he'd kill his attachment to the outcome of having a son. The knife that mattered wasn't metal. It was the severing of the deepest spiritual trap humans fall into. The belief that Allah's gifts belong to you and exist for your plans. Look at what happened in sequence. Ibrahim was old, his wife Sarah was barren, he had no heir. He prayed for a son for decades. Then Allah gave him Ismail through Hajar. This was a miracle. This was a divine answer to a lifetime of prayer. And the moment the gift arrived, the moment Ibrahim's heart attached to it, the command came. Now give it back. Rumi taught that this is the universal pattern of divine education. Allah gives you exactly what you asked for, lets you hold it long enough to believe it's yours, then demands its return. Not because he needs it back. He never needed to give it in the first place, but because you need to learn that nothing is yours. Everything is on loan, and the moment you claim ownership of a gift is the moment you've turned the gift into an idol. Ibrahim wasn't being asked, "Do you love me more than your son?" That's the Sunday school version. He was being asked, "Can you receive my gifts without claiming them as yours? Can you be a father without making your identity dependent on having a son? Can you love without attachment?" The answer required actually moving the knife toward Ismail's throat, because only action reveals what you truly believe. And here's the secret Rumi saw. The ram that appeared wasn't a last-minute substitution. The ram was there the entire time. The whole point was for Ibrahim to reach the moment of complete surrender, the instant where he'd released his grip on the gift, where his hand was moving the knife, but his heart had already let go. In that instant, he saw what Allah wanted him to see. The ram, the real sacrifice, the thing that was supposed to die all along, not Ismail, the part of Ibrahim that thought Ismail existed to fulfill Ibrahim's dreams. The attachment. No one talks about. To understand what Ibrahim sacrificed, you have to understand what Ismail represented to him, and this is where Rumi goes deeper than the commentaries. Ismail wasn't just a son. He was the answer to a prophetic promise. Allah had told Ibrahim, "I will make you father of nations." For years, that promise seemed impossible. Then Ismail came, and suddenly the promise had a clear path to fulfillment. Ismail was the bridge between Ibrahim's present and his prophetic destiny. So when the command came to sacrifice Ismail, it wasn't just give up your son. It was give up the path you thought your destiny would take. It was abandon your understanding of how I fulfill my promises. It was trust me even when I seem to be contradicting what I told you before. This is exponentially harder than sacrificing something you love, This is sacrificing your certainty about God's plan. Rumi observed that most believers have no problem trusting Allah when they can see how His plan makes sense. You pray for a job, you get the job. You thank Allah. Easy. But what happens when you pray for a job? Allah gives you the job. You start building your life around it, and then Allah takes it away? Not because you sinned, not because you did something wrong, but simply because He wanted to take it away. Can you still say, Alhamdulillah? Can you still trust that this is somehow better for you, even though it looks like your life is collapsing? Ibrahim was being asked to trust Allah's promise, while simultaneously being asked to destroy the only visible means through which that promise could be fulfilled. Kill your son, end your lineage, make the promise impossible, and still trust that I'm keeping my word. This is the test that breaks people. This is the test most people fail without even knowing they're being tested, because it comes disguised as tragedy, as loss, as God not making sense. According to Rumi's teaching, preserved in his discourses, Ibrahim passed the test at the moment he stopped trying to understand and started moving the knife. Surrender is not understanding why and agreeing. Surrender is not understanding why and obeying anyway. The mind will never have enough information to understand divine wisdom. The hand must move before the mind comprehends. This is the essence of faith: action without certainty, obedience without guarantee. The knife as spiritual instrument. Rumi spent considerable time in the Mathnawi analyzing the symbolism of the knife, and this is where his reading becomes surgical. The knife represents discriminating awareness, the capacity to cut between what's real and what's illusion, between what's Allah's and what you've claimed as yours. Every human carries this knife. Most people never pick it up. They live entire lives never separating their identity from their roles, never distinguishing their essence from their possessions, never cutting the threads of attachment that keep them imprisoned. Ibrahim picking up the actual physical knife was the external act. But Rumi taught that the real knife, the one every seeker must eventually pick up, is the willingness to examine what you're holding on to and ask, is this mine, or is this his? Am I gripping this because I need it, or because my ego is claiming ownership? And when the answer is uncomfortable, having the courage to cut. Think about what you'd have to cut in your own life if you picked up Ibrahim's knife. The job that gives you status, but keeps you from your real calling. The relationship you're clutching because you're afraid to be alone. The reputation you're maintaining that requires you to be someone you're not. The comfort you're protecting that's keeping you from growing. The plans you've invested in that are blocking you from what Allah is actually trying to give you. These are your Ismail. These are what the knife is for. Rumi observed that most people spend their lives sharpening the knife, but never using it. They go to lectures, read books, do spiritual practices, accumulate knowledge about detachment and surrender. But when it comes time to actually cut something they're attached to, they freeze. They put the knife down. They bargain with Allah. I'll give up everything except this one thing. Surely you don't mean this one thing. And that one thing, the thing you're not willing to sacrifice, is precisely what's being asked for. The test isn't whether you'd theoretically be willing to sacrifice if God asked. The test is whether you'll actually do it when He does ask. And He asks by putting you in situations where holding on causes suffering and letting go requires trust. Every time life takes something from you, a person, a plan, a certainty, a dream, you're being handed Ibrahim's knife. The question is whether you'll use it to cut your attachment before the thing is ripped away, or whether you'll cling until your hands bleed. The son's role in the father's test. Here's something most interpretations ignore, but Rumi emphasized: Ismail's response to the dream. When Ibrahim tells him, "I saw in a dream that I'm sacrificing you," Ismail doesn't cry, doesn't run, doesn't question. He says, "Do what you're commanded. You'll find me patient, inshallah." This isn't a child's naivety. This is a soul that understands the test better than the one being tested. Rumi taught that Ismail represents the purified aspect of Ibrahim's own soul, the part that already knows everything is Allah's, that already lives in surrender, that's not attached to outcomes because it never believed it owned anything to begin with. The dialogue between Ibrahim and Ismail is not just father and son talking. It's the part of you that's struggling to let go, talking to the part of you that already has. When Ismail says, "You'll find me patient," he's not predicting his own behavior. He's teaching his father how to approach the sacrifice. Patience, sabr. Here doesn't mean gritting your teeth and enduring. It means internal stillness, acceptance without resistance, trust that what's happening is what should be happening, even when it makes no sense. Ismail embodies this naturally. Ibrahim has to learn it. This is why, according to Rumi's reading, the whole event was as much education as examination. Allah wasn't discovering whether Ibrahim would obey. He already knew. Ibrahim was discovering how much he'd claimed ownership of what was never his. The walk up the mountain, the preparation of the knife, the laying down of his son, these weren't delays before the real test. These were the test itself, each moment an opportunity to feel the attachment and choose to cut it anyway. And this is where Rumi's insight becomes personally devastating. Everyone plays both roles at different times. Sometimes you're Ibrahim, being asked to sacrifice what you've built your identity around. Sometimes you're Ismail, being the thing someone else is attached to and watching them struggle to release their grip on you. Both positions require surrender. Ibrahim has to surrender his son. Ismail has to surrender his life. But the surrendering is the same act, letting Allah take what He gave, trusting He knows what He's doing, even when it looks like destruction. The dream that started it all. Rumi paid particular attention to the fact that this entire trial began with a dream. Not a waking voice, not a burning bush, not an angel appearing in daylight. A dream. And in that detail, he found a crucial teaching about how divine commands actually work in human consciousness. According to traditions from Rumi's oral teachings, prophets' dreams are revelation. But for everyone else, dreams are the arena where the unconscious speaks truth that the waking mind refuses to hear. When you dream about losing something you're attached to, that's not random psychological noise. That's your soul showing you what needs to be released. When you dream about confronting what you fear, that's preparation for the waking test that's coming. Ibrahim's dream was revelation, yes, but it was also reflection. It revealed what was already true in the hidden parts of his consciousness. That his attachment to Ismail had grown strong enough to become a veil between him and Allah. The dream brought this hidden reality into awareness so it could be addressed. If you're honest with your own dreams, Rumi taught, they'll show you what you're clutching that needs to be opened, what you're avoiding that needs to be faced, what you're serving that's not Allah. But here's the trap. Ibrahim could have dismissed the dream. He could have said, "It's just a dream, not real revelation." He could have bargained, "Maybe I misunderstood. Maybe it means something symbolic." He could have delayed, "Let me wait for a clearer sign." Every attachment you have will offer you these same escapes when you're shown it needs to go. Your mind will give you excellent reasons why this time is different, why this attachment is legitimate, why sacrificing this particular thing would be irresponsible or cruel or unnecessary. Rumi taught that the moment you start negotiating with a divine command is the moment you've already failed the test. Not failed in the sense of punishment, but failed to receive what the test was offering: freedom. Because every test is actually a gift disguised as a demand. Allah asks you to give up what's hurting you, even though you think it's helping you. He asks you to release what's blocking you, even though you think it's protecting you. He asks you to sacrifice what's keeping you small, even though you think it's keeping you safe. Ibrahim didn't negotiate. He woke up from the dream and started preparing. No second guessing, no committees to consult, no waiting for a better time. This is what Rumi meant when he said, "When the wine arrives, the mind leaves. When the command is clear, thinking stops and action begins. Not reckless action, not impulsive action, but action rooted in certainty that comes from a place deeper than the calculating mind." The mountain. As separation, the location matters. They didn't perform the sacrifice in the valley where they lived. They climbed a mountain. Rumi saw in this detail a map of the inner journey required for real surrender. The valley is ordinary consciousness, daily life, the realm of relationships and responsibilities and familiar patterns. You can't do the deepest work there. There are too many voices, too many roles, too many distractions. The mountain represents separation, not physical separation, but the internal isolation required to face what you've been avoiding. You have to climb away from the noise, away from the people who know you as you've been, away from the identity you've built, to reach the altitude where you can see clearly what needs to die. According to Rumi's teaching in the Mathnawi, every spiritual transformation requires this climb. You can't kill your ego in the marketplace. You can't sacrifice your attachments while surrounded by the very things and people you're attached to. You need space, silence, solitude, not forever, but for the crucial moment when the knife must move. This is why prophets go to caves, why mystics retreat, why serious seekers periodically withdraw. Not because they're running from the world, but because certain spiritual operations require sterile conditions. But here's what people miss. The mountain isn't a physical place. You can climb it in your living room if you know how. The mountain is any space where you're alone with the truth. Alone meaning no one's opinion matters. No one's watching. No one's approval or disapproval has any weight. Just you and what needs to be done, and the courage or lack of courage to do it. Some people climb this mountain once in their lives. Some never climb it at all. Some climb it repeatedly, each time sacrificing a different attachment at a higher altitude. Ibrahim climbed with Ismail, not alone. Rumi emphasized this because it means the sacrifice wasn't done in private. His son witnessed his father's willingness to obey even this command. This is how faith transmits across generations, not through lectures about faith, but through children watching parents make the cuts that surrender requires. Ismail learned more from being laid on that altar than from any sermon Ibrahim could have preached. He learned that obedience to Allah doesn't negotiate, doesn't calculate costs, doesn't wait for clarity. It moves when moved upon. The knife that wouldn't cut. There are versions of this story mentioned in some tafsir traditions, though not universally accepted, where the knife physically refused to cut. Ibrahim would press it to Ismail's throat, and the blade wouldn't penetrate. Some explain this as a miracle of protection. Rumi had a different reading, preserved in oral traditions from his students. The knife wouldn't cut because what needed cutting wasn't Ismail's flesh. It was Ibrahim's attachment. And once the attachment was cut, once the internal surrender was complete, the external sacrifice became unnecessary. This explains why the ram appeared exactly when it did, not before Ibrahim raised the knife, not after the knife failed. At the precise moment when Ibrahim had completed the internal sacrifice, the external one was replaced. The ram wasn't a backup plan. It was the real plan all along. Ismail was never meant to die. Ibrahim's attachment to Ismail was what was meant to die, and the only way to kill an attachment is to move towards sacrificing it for real. Rumi taught that this pattern repeats in every sincere seeker's life. Allah will ask you to give up something you love, and if you move toward giving it up sincerely, meaning you're actually prepared to lose it, not just pretending while secretly hoping He'll let you keep it. He often gives it back, but not always. Sometimes He takes it and gives you something different, something better, that you couldn't have received while clutching the old thing. Sometimes He takes it and gives you nothing external, but everything internal. Peace, freedom, trust, nearness to Him. The point is, you can't manipulate the outcome by performing surrender. Real surrender means you don't know what happens next, and you don't condition your obedience on a specific result. You raise the knife. You move it toward what you're attached to. You're willing to lose it. And then, what happens is what happens, and whatever happens is what was supposed to happen, because nothing happens outside His will. This is why Rumi said, most people never pass Ibrahim's test. They're willing to sacrifice what they don't really care about. They're willing to give up bad habits or comfortable sins or things they know are holding them back. But the real test comes when you're asked to sacrifice something good, something blessed, something that came from Allah Himself as an answered prayer. Because that's when you discover whether you're worshiping Allah or worshiping His gifts. The ram as divine replacement. The ram that appeared is called in the Quran a great sacrifice. Why great? It's just an animal. What makes it greater than a human sacrifice? Rumi's answer, drawn from his Mathnawi commentary, the ram represents divine provision that appears only after human plans are surrendered. As long as Ibrahim was planning to sacrifice Ismail, no ram appeared. The moment the plan was surrendered, not abandoned but offered up, the provision manifested. This is the mechanics of divine replacement that almost no one understands. You cling to a job you hate because you need the income, and no better job appears. The day you quit in trust, the opportunity arrives. You stay in a relationship that's dying because you fear loneliness and you meet no one. The day you let it go, the person you're meant for enters your life. You hold on to an old identity because you think it's all you have. and you feel stuck. The day you're willing to not know who you are, you discover who you actually are. But, and this is crucial, the provision doesn't come before the surrender. It doesn't come as insurance to make the surrender less scary. It comes after, and only after, you've stepped into the void with no guarantee. This is why faith is required. This is why the sacrifice is real. If you could see the ram before raising the knife, there would be no test. The test is raising the knife while seeing nothing but loss. Rumi taught that the ram represents what Allah always intended to provide, but couldn't give until you stopped clutching what you had. Your hands are full of what you're holding. His hands are full of what He wants to give. The exchange requires you to open your grip first. He doesn't pry your fingers loose. He waits for you to release. And the moment you do, the moment you're willing to have empty hands, He fills them with what He had planned to give all along. But sometimes what He gives isn't what you lost. Sometimes you sacrifice a son, and He gives you a nation. Sometimes you sacrifice a marriage, and He gives you self-knowledge. Sometimes you sacrifice a career, and He gives you a calling. The currency of the exchange is not equal replacement. It's trust that what you receive, whatever it is or isn't, is better than what you released. The meaning for everyone who isn't a prophet. Here's where Rumi's teaching becomes uncomfortably personal. You're not Ibrahim. You're not going to get a divine command to literally sacrifice your child, but you are going to face the exact same spiritual test he faced, just in forms you don't recognize as the test. And because you don't recognize it, you will probably fail it repeatedly until you learn to see what's actually being asked. The test comes every time life takes something from you. Every time a relationship ends. Every time a plan falls apart. Every time health fails. Every time death visits someone you love. Every time you lose what you built your security on. These moments are Ibrahim's mountain. The question is identical. Can you let this go with grace, trusting that what's being taken is being taken by the one who gave it, and He knows what He's doing? Or will you rage, resist, demand explanations, blame Him for betrayal? Rumi taught that how you respond to loss reveals what you were actually worshiping. If losing money destroys your peace, you were worshiping money. If losing a person's approval devastates you, you were worshiping their opinion. If losing your health sends you into existential crisis, you were worshiping the body. Nothing wrong with valuing these things, but the moment they become load-bearing columns holding up your entire sense of meaning and worth, they've become idols, and Allah will systematically remove every idol you construct, not to punish you, but to free you. The practice Rumi recommended, preserved in teachings passed down through the Mevlevi tradition, is to periodically inventory what you're attached to and voluntarily create distance from it before you're forced to. Fast from food to remember food is not your sustenance. Allah is. Fast from speech to remember your voice is not your power. His is. Fast from companionship to remember, people are not your completion. He is. These voluntary mini-sacrifices train you for the involuntary ones that will inevitably come. But there's a deeper practice, more uncomfortable. Identify the one thing you're most attached to, the thing you think you couldn't function without, the person or situation or identity that feels load-bearing. And spend time in meditation imagining Allah taking it away. Not morbidly obsessing, but calmly sitting with the scenario and asking, if this were gone tomorrow, Could I still say Alhamdulillah? Could I still trust him? Could I survive? If the answer is no, you found your Ismail. You found what you're holding so tightly that your spiritual life is being choked. And the merciful thing, the loving thing Allah does, is ask for it back before it destroys you. Because anything you can't live without, except Allah, will eventually become the thing that kills your connection to Allah. The aftermath. No one discusses. What happened after the ram was sacrificed? What did Ibrahim and Ismail talk about on the walk back down the mountain? What was the first meal they ate together after almost eating the last one? The Quran doesn't tell us, and Rumi noticed this silence. He taught that the silence itself is teaching something. There's no going back to how things were before. You can't pass a test like that and return unchanged. Ibrahim climbed up the mountain as a man who believed his purpose was tied to his son. He walked down as a man who knew his purpose was tied to nothing but Allah, and everything else, even prophetic promises, was detail, not foundation. His love for Ismail didn't decrease, it purified. He could now love his son without needing his son, without burdening Ismail with the weight of being essential to Ibrahim's meaning. This is what authentic detachment looks like, according to Rumi's teaching. People misunderstand detachment as not caring, as coldness, as disconnection. But real detachment is loving without chains. It's caring deeply while holding loosely. It's being fully present with someone while knowing they're not yours to keep. It's the difference between the ocean